Today's video is going to be about how to transplant a hydrangea. So I've got this, I don't know, 5-6-year-old hydrangea that is ready to get moved back behind me over to the studio. And so check out today's video for a new backyard adventure. So as I mentioned, we're going to take this hydrangea here and bump it back there towards the studio. And it's in the middle of where our new archway walkway is going to be, so it's totally in the middle of the wrong spot, but should be a pretty simple. We want to get as much root ball as possible, so I'm just going to dig around about a foot around it and then start working my way in until I see the roots and see if I can kind of just pick this thing up. And then once I start getting ready to move it, I'll look at pruning some of this down and bring it down to about, I don't know, 2 feet or so. So I'll take you through that part too. So we are now a week later from what you saw moments ago, and if you look over my shoulder on this side, you might be able to see in the back there, that's that hydrangea that I set there temporarily, just put some dirt over it so it'd be okay for the week. And then on this side right down here is where I want to plant it. So what I've got here is the sun comes this direction, so I get in the summertime afternoon sun, but because of just some of the things that are in the way, obstacles, it doesn't get hot sun, and typically it's going to be more of the evening, late afternoon sun. So shade with a good amount of sun, but not I would say it's kind of a mid-shade type situation. So I think it'll be really good for the hydrangea. They don't like to be in the blistering hot heat. They don't do well with that. So we'll try it here and see how it works. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dig a 3-foot circle. I'm gonna go about 1.5 feet deep, bring in, I have some soil that I just took out from when I was moving that, so I'm actually gonna put that soil around it. This stuff here isn't real good. And then I'll supplement that with some compost as we head towards spring, and then mulch over it and see what grows. Okay, actually a very slight change. I said I wanted to go 1.5 feet deep. I'm not actually going quite that deep because this garden bed is actually going to be a little higher by the time I get the finished stuff on there. So I want to keep that root ball at ground level. I don't want to bury that where moisture can really go in and rot that. So I'm going to overall raise this bed a bit, so I'll have that root ball looking a little high at first, but once the mulch and things go back on there, it'll be better. Alright, so I've plopped the hydrangea down there, and now I'm going to kind of rotate it around, kind of get it in this best spot. You'll notice I had that 9 inches to a foot of good soil that was original from where I had transplanted, just familiar medium. And so I've got that on the bottom, and I'm going to kind of play around with this, and then I'm going to put some more soil on top of there and kind of get it set to go. So here's how we'll do this. All right, as we look now to pruning it, there's a few things I definitely want to prune out. One is, the first thing, I'm going to go for anything that's the dead flowers from last year, and just cut it down to that first bud of life. Second, I'm looking for anything that's diseased or broken or dead, anything coming down from the bottom up that just looks, just kind of doesn't look healthy. So I'll get rid of some of those. And then I'm going to go through and look at the shape, look at some of the old growth of where I want to thin it out a little bit without losing my blooms for this coming summers. One of the first things I do before I even begin pruning hydrangea, rose, anything, is I want to make sure that my pruners are sharp and clean. So I typically will do this every time I go to do a pruning job. I've got a little tool that has just a, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a little metal sharpening tool on there. And I come up to this, there's 2 sides to this style. There's 2 sides to the blade. One side you sharpen, and the other side just stays flat. So you take this little tool up there and go to the end, and you're just going to kind of scrape it down there, give it some pressure. And I usually keep about a 15-degree angle, and just kind of follow whatever the angle was that's there. Do it 5 to 7 times. And I'm checking to see, yeah, see, nice and smooth. I'll run my finger lightly across there, and it's definitely sharp. I could shave my beard off with that thing. So what I'm looking for is any of the dead flowers from last year. I want to cut those dead flowers off. And I'm going to go down to where I see life, so where the new bud is. I can see some new buds that are just wanting to burst up as soon as the weather warms a bit. So I'm going to cut at an angle right above those and get rid of those dead flowers. So I see dead flower, it's just that needs to come off. And I've got lots of buds along here. So lots of buds along here I could save, and I don't need to go that much lower on the plant, so I'm just going to go down to the second bud, cut that. All right, I'm looking for any dead flowers from last year, so you can see one there. Bring it down to the bud. Got another one, there's the buds there. I got, looks like a couple little buds I want to go, but I'm gonna go ahead and go down to those next big buds and just get rid of those. All right, I don't know if you can see this here, but I've got a couple of these branches that are touching, they're crossing. There's just no space here, so I definitely don't want that. There was a flower up here, so I know I need to come down, but I'm gonna go down just a little extra and try to, and like here, this one's crossing into the plant. I'll lose some flowers with that, but I'd rather have that space in there. So I'm going to take that one all the way back to the main lead. And again, I got a couple of these in here that just need to get some space. All right, so I mean, that right there opened it up a fair amount. One more thing down here I want you to know is this is a little trick I've done over the years. If I see a branch that's not really in the way, doesn't look bad, but is kind of low, I will go back and I will throw some dirt over that and kind of push it down so it's in the dirt a bit. And what's going to happen is this is just an easy way to propagate some new growth. So I'll go through and let that sit there through the growing season, at least through halfway through the summer, and I'll come back in there and there'll be roots. I'll cut that off, put that in a pot, and I've got a new hydrangea ready to go to give to some friends or to let grow for another year and put somewhere. So kind of a fun way to propagate and pass on some love. All right, here's some perspective. There's a gutter chain in the way, but you can kind of see I have gone through, gotten rid of all the dead flowers. I've thinned it out, cut it open a little bit with some old dead branches, some that were starting to cross. I left a lot of them. I wanted this thing to be able to flower and bloom this year, so I left a lot of the old growth with the new buds. I left those there. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'll take a picture so you can kind of see what it looks like. But notice how it's mid to end of January here in the Northwest, and we still have some of these, well, all these blooms ready to explode, ready to go. So it's actually a really good time to transplant as the growth is about to start. And I usually typically want to do this towards the end of winter when the soil's workable, but before it really starts to grow. So you got to watch that. All right, I think that's a wrap for this backyard adventure. We've got the hydrangea transplanted over here. I've gone through, pruned it, kind of cleaned it up. It's set to grow. The last thing that I'm going to want to do is put about 2 inches, 3 inches of mulch over the top of this bed, over around the base of this plant, just to kind of give it a nice blanket here in the wintertime, keep it moist in the summertime, kind of keep it at that right spot. And we're going to let it grow. We'll see if we have some pink or some blue. Leave in the comments what you think it's going to be. By the way, it was light blue back when the old spot, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know how the acidity is. Hey, if you like what you see here, please hit the like button. I'd love for you to hit subscribe. There'll be more videos like this coming out soon. And if there's something else you have questions on, leave it in the comments. I'll get back to those and perhaps make another video about one of your questions.